Welcome back, Rabbi Dr. Eliezer Brodt. And this is going to be a special episode because we have our first guest podcast. With us is Harav Hagoin Uri Tiger Shlita. Some of you may recognize his name from his seforim. Some of you may recognize his name. You may have seen some videos of him talking to R Chaim Kanievsky. And some of you may have heard his life story, which is incredible. We are not going to be focusing on his life story. We'll give a little bit of his background. We will be focusing on his seforim. He has written incredible seforim. I am personally learning one of them now, which is a sefer on Rambam Hilchas Tshuva called Doifke B'Tshuva, written in the style where Rabbi Kanievsky used to write his seforim, like Mishnah Berurah style. Over 600 pages, tremendous bekiyas and set up so beautifully. We want to talk about other seforim of Uri Tigers, and who better to discuss this with Eliezer Brodt. Eliezer Brodt has already given 29 shiurim on the seforim of Chaim Kanievsky. And Uri Tiger was someone who had a tremendous hiskarvos to Reb Chaim Kanievsky in a very unique way. I don't believe there's anyone else who had that type of relationship. He was Magia Reb Chaim's seforim and used to talk to him and go through and ask Reb Chaim about mistakes and corrections. And Uri could talk about that a little bit more. But that's the tachlis of today's conversation. So without further ado, I'm going to allow Rabbi Brodt to give a brief introduction before we get into some of the questions for Rav Uri Tiger.
Okay, just to add a drop onto what Rav Moshe said just now is two things. One is that we've been quoting him from the first year already. We've been quoting Rav Uri, different things from both his seforim Nezer Hachaim, which we're going to learn a little bit more about from him, and from his sefer Derech Ish on the Chazon Ish that he also wrote. We're also going to hear more about that today. And from the videos, many fascinating pieces of information he said and had conversations with R Chaim in these videos that have become very famous. So we felt it's very important and apropos to discuss and have him live and have some conversation with him, especially to discuss his incredibly close relationship with R Chaim. He was zeicha to learn with him b'chavrusa, discuss hours and hours of learning with him. I don't know if there's too many people that was zeicha to have such a thing. And throughout the conversation today, we're going to learn more about that. So that's the introduction for the topic.
Before we continue, I just want to say that Rabbi Uri comes to America. He's here a couple times a year. He's someone who's worth having a conversation with, meeting, and speaking with. We are recording this the second week of Elul. Rabbi Uri is going to be in America next week. He'll be in the tri-state area. Reach out to me if you want to sit down and talk to Rabbi Uri. He is someone who's worth having a relationship with. Tremendous Talmid Chacham, as you'll see. He speaks English. Grew up in Israel and speaks English. Maybe he'll tell us how. So how about maybe that's a segue into your story. Rabbi Uri, take 2 minutes, because if someone wants to hear his story at length, they can visit the podcast of Rabbi Ephraim Goldberg, Behind the Bima podcast. Rabbi Uri says his story. He has said it in many venues. So Rabbi Uri, if you want to be the Kitzer Gummer, tell us a little bit of your background. And how does a person who was born in Tel Aviv and has a nice white beard and lives in the Gula neighborhood of Yerushalayim speak English?
Okay, the beard is because of the age. It's not anything else. So, Lemaise, I born for a secular family in Tel Aviv. I was secular until 11 years old. And when I was 11 years old, so my grandfather passed away, and one of my father's friends from the neighborhood approached my father and convinced him to start going to the shul to say Kaddish for his father, and my father actually started going to the shul every morning to say Kaddish for his father. That was the first step. The other step was my sister. My sister went to a seminar, R Chaim seminar, and she was mamish fascinated by the seminar. And since then, she started to force us to keep Shabbos in the house. And I was very unhappy because of that, because I was addicted to TV. And the best movies used to play on Shabbos. And actually, my whole broken English that I know till now is just from the TV and the movies when I was a little child. So when I spoke in Project Inspire 2 years ago, so some person came to me and says, you know what, you should see more movies. Make your English better. So that was part of my past. Lemaise, since then, Baruch Hashem, the relationship, the family became much more from. We started accepting Yiddishkeit and adding on observance as we grew. And then when I was in 15 years old, this was the first time that I came to yeshiva. I learned in this yeshiva for 6 years, and this is in 2 minutes that I had.
Okay, so we're going to ask you we'll ask you some questions a little bit now to begin with. Like this, if one sees in these videos that you've released on the internet already before Reb Chaim was nifter already, that you were zeicha to sit with him. There's no pressure. He's calm. There's no one screaming around him. How are you zeicha to have this incredible kasher sitting hours on hours? How did you get to him? What age were you when you started? How did this all happen? How did this begin?
So, Lemaise, when people met me in the street and they know my videos, so they think that one day I came to Reb Chaim's house and suddenly I sat 10 hours with him. Well, it wasn't like this at all. It was a process of few years, at least 5 years. So the thing was like this. After I got married, I entered the kollel where they learned Hilchos Shmita, and one of the seforim we studied regularly was Derech Ish. And then, it's first time in my life, I decided to send Reb Chaim Zatzal a letter with questions and comments on his sefer. And even though I said to myself that surely Reb Chaim, because his greatness and age, would not take the time to reply to letters from some unknown person named Tiger, but still I sent the letter. And to my astonishment, Reb Chaim sent me back a postcard with answers to all the comments and questions, and wrote to me in the top of the postcard something like, I really enjoyed your comments, and I hope you will continue to write to me. So I was very, very happy about it, and I continue corresponding with Reb Chaim for 4 letters. And after that, I decided that I want to see Reb Chaim with my own eyes, because as it sounds funny, until I got married, until my wedding, I had never seen him in person, just in pictures, but nothing in person. So I decided to go to his house in Bnei Brak. I got there after Ma'ariv. I waited in a line for about half an hour because there was a huge rush of people arriving. And when it was my turn, Reb Chaim asked me, what's your name? And I said, Tiger. He then asked me, which Tiger, from the letters? I said, yes. As soon as he heard that, Reb Chaim directed me to sit and started conversing with me and learning. That was the first meeting with Reb Chaim. And then, Baruch Hashem, the relationship grew stronger and stronger. And I would come to him with 10 corrections on his seforim, and then with 20 corrections, and then more and more, both comments and learning, and many other corrections, until it became official that I was the proofreader of more on Reb Chaim's seforim. But it didn't took one day. It took me something like 5 years to sit and study with Reb Chaim Mamish Haimish, in Haimish way.
Uh-huh.
I started at my early 20s. When I was in my early 20s, Reb Chaim was in his early 70s. There is 50 years, something like this, between us. And that was the beautiful years of my life. To sit with Reb Chaim, hours and hours. He gave me a different time than the Kabbalah school. And sometimes he would take me to the 3rd floor in his house. And then he would lock the door. Even the Rebbitzin doesn't have the key for this door. No one has it. Only Reb Chaim has the key for this door. And whatever it be, Reb Chaim never answer people when they shouting or they knocking on his door for the 3rd floor. He was sitting and learning. Nothing can interrupt him while he was there. It was the best moment.
Continue. You just said that Reb Chaim used to sit in this room that only he had the key, and then he would invite you also as Zeicha to sit in this room. Do you know did he sit in this room for how long? Did he sit in this room in general? Did he sit there often?
So the story was that usually Reb Chaim was sitting learning in the 1st floor. His house was after the stairs. He has 2nd floor. This was actually his 1st floor, and usually he sit and learn all day long over there. But the problem was that the Rebbitzin was very tzadekis, and every person who knocked the door and wants Reb Chaim for a question or for a broche or whatever, so the Rebbitzin said, okay, come in, talk to the Reb Chaim. And it was very, very, Reb Chaim was unhappy from this. He has special times for Kabbalah School, but in other time, Leave me alone. I want to sit and learn normally. So what happened was that one time, one woman that her husband passed away, she wanted to do something Leilu Nishmosoi, and she decided to build Reb Chaim the third floor.
Wow.
And since then, Reb Chaim stopped sit and learn in the regular floor, and he goes to the third floor. And then, because he doesn't want the Rebbe to send another people to the third floor, so he had a special delet.
Key. You had a door and everything. And
No, with the key, and only Reb Chaim had the key. That was the reason.
How long? For how many years did he have this room?
Since I know him, he already had his.
He already had it. Since.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's at least 25 years. Yeah.
Okay. Very
and
interesting.
Reb told me once that he mamish so grateful for this woman that he can run out from the world, escape from the world. That's the meaning. He can boreach me'oilom.
It's very interesting that you did this Nakuda, because I spoke about this in the past, but Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, Lamashal, he also had a room near his house where he used to hide out for a few hours every day, and it was usher to disturb him when he was in this room.
Yeah.
What I claimed at the time was that certain Gedolim, they need time to at least, that they themselves can learn a little. They can't be accessible 24 hours. So now you're telling us
was that he gave people so much time from his every day, from his own time. Just do the math. He had almost 5 times a day.
Wow.
He gave from his time from the tzibur. He had, after Vosiki, he had Kabbalah Skol. There was Sandekos every day. Some days there was some Sandekos every day. And then after Minches Kabbalah Skol. And then after Ma'ir. And in the good days, also at 10:30 at night, it was also Kabbalah Skol. So
5 times.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so based on what you said, I would like to ask you just 2 other questions. You said you were zeicha to edit his seforim. Which seforim did you work on? Derech Emunah or some of the other ones also?
All of Reb Chaim's seforim. Baruch Hashem, I had the schus to proofreader all his seforim from the beginning until the end, except the last one, the Raziel Amalo. Except this, all of his seforim. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So you know that Reb Chaim Kanievsky's seforim, it's not actually seforim. It's more encyclopedia than seforim. Every sefer has millions of Mara Mikemes. It's all the Torah Kula in each page of the seforim. So it took me 15 years to go over all the seforim, Mara Mokoim, one by one, and to check each one of them. You need to learn everything, you need to understand everything, and then you need to proofreading everything. So it took 15 years.
Wow. Okay, yeah. So Baruch Hashem, so you definitely helped get it out there further in a properly edited format, which is very, as you just said, I could imagine how time consuming it is to look at some of those pages, hundreds of Marmakaimis, Gavaldik, unbelievable. But when did you start the videos that you have with him? How many years of those were you doing the videos?
So the video thing was, I was Tomim. I'm Yerushalmi, I'm not Nebraki. And when I came first time to Reb Chaim's house, I thought that everyone is sitting with Reb Chaim for an hour. I didn't think that it's something weird. So it took me a few years to understand that it's something unusual going on here. And then I decided to put a camera to make a video from each time that I came to Reb Chaim's house. And then after a few years, it also took a few years, I stopped with the regular camera, and I brought someone's special person that he took videos in, professional way, and he put his camera with everything, and you can see in the videos there are 2 types of videos. There with very good quality and very bad quality. So the very bad quality is from the early years, it's from my camera, and the other videos it's from the person's camera, the professional.
So you've mentioned to me in the past that you just put up a camera without Reb Chaim's permission. Is that Kanievsky das?
So I asked Reb Chaim himself this question. I asked him, "Are you allowed to take a video from a person without he knowing about it. So he told me, Kol mare v'reach, en bo mishum meile. It's just mare. It's not something, he's not taking from anything. So for sure, if you coming to a person at night and you take a video and you publish it in, for other person, so for sure it's not okay thing. But just sit and learning and such a things, it's 100%. This is the psak of Reb Chaim.
So one more question before Eliezer gets to the next topic. Tell us that one time Reb Chaim, what happened? He wanted to give you money and you had to go back and forth with him. Tell us about that.
Reb Chaim didn't just wanted to give him money. He mamish chased after me to give me money, but I didn't allow him. I was 15 years, I do all Reb Chaim's seforim, the proofreading, and I never took from him even 1 shekel. And because of that, Reb Chaim was so grateful. And everything that he could do for me, just because of a Koras HaToiv, he did because that he didn't pay me. And he wanted to pay me all the time. So because of this Koras HaToiv that he had, so he came to visit me in my house in Yerushalayim, in Chol HaMoed Pesach, and he took care to all of my children in the best yeshivas, in the best seminars for the girls. He took our family personally. And many, many things that Reb Chaim tried to help me without the money thing.
But what happened one time when you were printing the Shoneh Halochos? I heard that that was a serious back and forth with Reb Chaim about the money.
So the story was like this. One day, Reb Chaim called me. He told me, you know what? I want to print the Shoneh Halochos in a new printing. So the story was that every time the Reb Chaim printed the Shoneh Halochos, for example, Shoneh Halochos Chelek Aleph, and the whole seforim sold down. So Reb Chaim, if people send him some corrections on his seforim, he wrote all the corrections on the margin of the page. And then in the second printing, he put all the printing in the end of the sefer. Tikunim leMahadura Rishono. And then he print another time. Tikunim leMahadura Shnio. So after 10 printing, Reb Chaim decided that he already covered all the mistakes and the corrections and whatever that's supposed to be in the sefer, and he wanted to print everything in a new printing with all the corrections inside, in new typing, everything new. So he called me, and he told me he wanted me to do the proofreading for the Shoneh Halochos in the new printing, but he had 2 conditions. One condition, that I need to do the proofreading 4 times, not only 1 time, 4 times, because he said, Shoneh Halochos it's Sefer Halocha Lemaaseh, even if one period is not in the place that it should be, so you can change the whole meaning of the halacha. So you need to do proofreading 4 times. Second term, you need to take money. You have to take money. Why is that? He said, Asya bemogen, mogen shavye. If you don't take the money, it's like a doctor that he doesn't take money. The Gemara says, so he doesn't do a good job. So you have to take money. If you don't take money from me, I'm not giving you the Shoneh Halochos to do the proofreading. Finally, he didn't give me the Shoneh Halochos. I took it behind his back. I do the proofreading, and I brought it to him.
Okay, amazing. The Sefer Nezer Hachaim that you published, which has a lot to do with Reb Chaim Kanievsky. It has Chuvas, Klalim. So question number 1 is, these Klalim, this was done probably while you were working on editing and learning through the seforim as it is, but do you have more material that you didn't publish yet, or this is basically what you do have? Another question is, were there more Chuvas that you didn't include yet that you also hope to publish? And what did Reb Chaim Kanievsky think about this Sefer? Did he enjoy it? Did he complain about it or anything like that?
So Nezer Hachaim, it was my first sefer, and I published it in Tovshin Samech Daled. All the things that I had, it was while I was learning the Koilel, the Hilchos Shmita, and after all the other halachos in Derech Emunah, from the beginning to end. And every time that I learned the sefer, I had many corrections and stiras, seores, whatever. So from all the questions and the corrections that I had, I corresponded with Reb Chaim. Everything was in postcards. And then after a few years, I decided to take all the postcards and to make a sefer from all these postcards. And this sefer called Nezer Hachaim. Nezer Hachaim has 3 levels. The first level is Shailas Utshuvas on Derech Emuneh. This is the main thing. The other part is Shailas Utshuvas on many, many questions. Some of them I thought about them, some of them people asked me to ask Reb Chaim on many, many different topics of Halochos. And the third part is Klolim. Well, everyone who learns Reb Chaim's seforim knows that Reb Chaim used Sifrei Klolim many, many times in his seforim, like Zdechemed, Yad Malachi, and many, many seforim. You know, Reb Chaim doesn't just use the Sifrei Klolim, he from his own knew a new Klolim that no one before him wrote about him. For example, just one example, nice example, every time the Rambam wrote V'yesh loi, what is V'yesh? He need to do it or he allowed to do it? So Reb Chaim wrote a klal, all V'yesh in the Rambam is Reshus. And in this klal, no one wrote it before him, and in this klal Meyashiv many, many, many questions on the Rambam. Simple klal, but only Reb Chaim was the first one who thought about this klal, the Lashon of the Rambam. So Reb Chaim by himself wrote so many klolim about the Rambam, about the Shas, and I understood that the klolim of Reb Chaim's seforim, someone had to take all of the klolim from all Reb Chaim's seforim to put it in one place, and that's what I did.
Okay. So we used it. We could say that I definitely used them a lot of times in this year, and we quoted some letters by Richos, and that was that sefer. The next sefer that we wanted to discuss, this is because we're in Elul, so this is the famous sefer of yours, L'Doifkei B'Tshuva. So we have a few questions for you about this. Number one, it was printed a few times. What was your matara? What was your goal when you decided to do this? To take Rambam and go through hundreds of seforim? And Taka, do you even know the number of seforim you used? Because it looks like you went through hundreds of seforim. How long did this take? And how much time did you spend on it? It's thousands of pratim to be masader this, and there's also your own chedusha mixed in as your mefalpo and different things. So first, why did you take this project? And tell us a little bit about this project, how it began and everything.
So the idea behind the sefer was that since I was in yeshiva, I heard many, many shmuzing and divrei chizuk and speeches about Elul and Tshuva and Rosh Hashanah and Yomim Noiroim and everything. And everything was based on Vortlach and some good ideas, nice ideas. But the point is that no one directed me what to do after I mamish had its oirus and nefesh to do tshuva. What lemaisa I'm supposed to do with this? So it's like a person here right now, a speech about kashrus of the food. He understands that he should be more careful in the kashrus of the food, and he wants to be more careful about it, but no one explained to him what exactly to do to not eat not kosher. You need to do the haloche, lemaise. So all the speeches that I heard was just to make the person understand that he needs to be open to do tshuva. Okay, so right now we're open to do tshuva. The speeches goes to our heart. We're ready to do tshuva. But what is tshuva at all? It's not just vortim. So some people think that doing tshuva is to daven with more kavone, or to say some kapitlach of Tehillim every day, or to wake up every four sliches, and so on and so on. But lemaise, there is zero connections between these things and mitzvah tshuva. It's very, very good things to do, but it's zero connection between these things to mitzvah tshuva. So I decided to look into the Rambam. The Rambam wasn't battling, and he took the trouble to write for us 10 prokim on his Halochos of Tshuva, because he wanted to teach us how to do this important mitzvah properly. And I started learning the Rambam with all the Marmekemes, and I decided to write a sefer on it. There is Halochos Shleimos that the Rambam wrote, and it's not the Rambam, it's all based on Chazal, Rishonim, everything. And I built, Baruch Hashem, a sefer called L'Doifkei B'Tshuva. It took me 3 years. You ask how many seforim I put inside, who counts? But many seforim. Lemaise, it took me 3 years to write all the sefer, and every halacha that I finished, I want Reb Chaim to write a goes on it. So every halacha that I finished, I immediately sent it to the type guy. I don't know the Mehamed. I don't know the
Yeah, the typesetter. The typesetter.
typesetter. So I sent it to the typesetter. Immediately I printed it and I gave it to Reb Chaim. Every halacha that I finished was on this way. And during 3 years, Reb Chaim, it took him a long time also. And Baruch Hashem, I had a very good friends in Reb Chaim's house. And every time that Reb Chaim was available at night, at the middle of night, at the morning, at the noon, whatever Reb Chaim was sitting and answering questions to people, they gave him my papers. And Baruch Hashem, Reb Chaim wrote me a goes. And the reason that Reb Chaim took the trouble to write to me more than 2,000 comments was that, as I told you, I was Reb Chaim proofreader for 20 years. So Reb Chaim was so grateful and he was so makir toivo that I was his proofreader. He wanted to be my proofreader. So in a way, in his way, he do the proofreading of 4 of my seforim. The most important of them is Ledovke B'tshuva, that he wrote to me more than 2,000 comments. This is the Sefer Ledovke B'tshuva. In Baruch Hashem, Mamesh Chasdei Hashem Isborach. I don't know what's the explanation for this, but the Sefer is Baruch Hashem Niskabel B'Klal Yisrael, so good that people all the time calling me from America, from Australia, from France, for sure from Eretz Yisrael, asking me questions about the Sefer. There is people learning it in Chavruses. And Baruch Hashem, the Sefer is mamish making some effect on the person who learned it.
Did you get any? One feedback, which I think I even told you personally, is that it's a shame. It's an encyclopedia. There's no mafteach of all the Jakava side things that you have in there. But did anyone else send you, let's say, systematic ha'aros like Rabbi Kanievsky sends you 2,000 ha'aros? Did anyone send you even 150 letter 100 ha'aros or something on the Sefer, or less?
So there is many people that send me letters, but not actually questions on the Sefer. So few of them is, some of them is, there is another Marmer Chemis that you can print, but then you didn't put it in. This is one kind of ha'aros. And the other ha'aros is, according what you wrote in the Sefer, we can be miyashev, Derech Chazal here, Derech Chazal there. This is the kind of the ha'aros that I get, Baruch Hashem.
Okay. So anyway, basically we recommend one should get the Sefer, especially during Elul Tishrei, to go through the Sefer. It's Mayurdik Sefer with thousands and thousands of ha'aros of Reb Chaim on the side. So that's one of the seforim we wanted to talk about.
I just want to say that one person called me a few years ago. I think it was a year after I printed the Dovke B'tshuva. The first printing was in Tovshin Vov, and he told me that he's from Los Angeles, and there is a special koilel that they sit and learn. The whole of Reichim at the koilel sit and learn chavruses in the Dovke B'tshuva, and then someone says a shir about it. So I was shy, and I didn't ask him anything. I just told him, okay, thank you for letting me know. And that's all. And Lemaisa, until today, I so much regret that I didn't ask him to send me some video from this or some pictures. But Lemaisa, that was the story.
Okay, maybe now they'll tell us through this that you said it. Okay. Now another sefer that to discuss, which was very helpful for me, that I was always very fond of from when it first came out as a booklet, Derech Ish, which you published in a few different maduras. And then eventually you got to ha'aros of Chaim Kanievsky, which is, this is a chibur about the Chazon Ish. So I had a few questions for you about this. Number one, why did you decide to do this? Again, how long did it take you to do this? And how did you pull off? I guess Reb Chaim, we know the answer why Reb Chaim wrote you ha'aros, because again, al takaris atayv. But what was your goal with this sefer?
So it all started while I did the proofreading for Reb Chaim's seforim. I saw that for Reb Chaim, the Chazon Ish wasn't just an achroin, one of the achroinim. For Reb Chaim, the Chazon Ish was poisek achroin. And there is a video that he also said that the Chazon Ish is poisek achroin. And I saw that for Reb Chaim, the Chazon Ish is so important. Everything was based on the Chazon Ish. All his seforim based on the Chazon Ish. All the type of limud was based on the Chazon Ish. For sure, the Psak Halocha is based on the Chazon Ish. Everything was based on the Chazon Ish. So I understand that I saw so many things that people wrote in the Chazon Ish, But most of the seforim that people wrote on the Chazon Ish was stories. Stories, how the Chazon Ish act ben Odom Chavero, how the Chazon Ish daven, how the Chazon Ish did this thing, the other thing. But from Reb Chaim's seforim, I started to understand that there is things that no one wrote about it yet, and this is the Shitas Halimud of the Chazon Ish, how the Chazon Ish was poisek haloche, and when, for example, there is stira between the Chazon Ish seforim, from Chazon Ish Bobikame to Chazon Ish Zroim. So what's the haloche lemaise? What can you do? The main thing was that the Chazon Ish didn't write his seforim like Sefer Haloche. He wrote it like a pirush on the Gemara. And you need to learn in very, very, very deeply to understand what the haloche comes from what he wrote. So Reb Chaim was genius, and he was able to learn the whole Chazon Ish and to understand exactly each Chazon Ish is lemaise, each Chazon Ish is not lemaise, from what Chazon Ish wrote just for the Have Amine and what the Chazon Ish wrote to Maskone. Reb Chaim was genius about it. So I made a mix. I put all the Chazon Ish klolim from the Chazon Ish seforim itself, and what Reb Chaim added from himself, klolim about the Shitas Halimud of the Chazon Ish, and about Tziras b'Chazon Ish, and I put everything together in first edition that I printed in Tov Shin Ayin Daled, called Derech Ish. It was a very nice story about it. I said every time that I had the opportunity, I asked Reb Chaim questions about the Chazon Ish, Shite, how the Chazon Ish learned, how the Chazon Ish was poisek, what the Chazon Ish Shita was. And Reb Chaim told me everything, and I put everything inside the Derech Ish. Then, when I had the final copy, before printing, so I left it in Reb Chaim's hand, one time that I was there, and I come back to Yerushalayim. It took me something like an hour and a half to come back to Yerushalayim, and then one of Reb Chaim's family members called me, and told me, you know what? Because of you, Reb Chaim didn't sleep today. And why is that? He took the copy that I left him, he took it to his bed, and instead of getting some sleep, he sit and learned everything from the cover to cover, and then he woke up and that's all. He didn't sleep at this day at all. So he had a tiny on me. Because of you, the Reb Chaim didn't sleep today. So Reb Chaim so much like the Sefer. I want to tell you another story about the Sefer. One of Reb Chaim's family member, when I print the first edition, so one of Reb Chaim's family member saw it. You know, Derech Ish is the type of the Mishnah Berurah, the Derech Emunah. And he saw it as he was mamish shouting on me. He told me, you do from the Chazon Ish like Mishnah Berurah? You know what's going to happen to you? This guy is going to do pashkeviling on you, and this yeshiva is going to burn you for him and whatever. And I was afraid. So I went to Reb Chaim and asked him, you know, one of your family member told me like this. What do you say about it? Reb Chaim told me, he's talking shtusim. Don't listen to him. Continue doing it like this. And I continued.
Okay, Baruch Hashem, just now, a few months ago, you released it, another Madura of the Sefer. It was out of print for a while with a few other Svarim, with the Derech HaKodesh, Mishpat Asay, and the Hateva HaRuchni. So two of these also had Hagoyis of Reb Chaim, the Sefer on Arkos, and Derech HaKodesh, which you just published now for the first time. But the question that I have on the Derech Ish is, how long did it take you to do the work on the Derech Ish? You spent a year on it, or Derech Agav you worked on?
Derech Ish took me something like a year, yeah. And then, after I finished the Derech Ish first edition, it took 1 month, the whole 1,000 copies that I printed, everything sold out in 1 month, and I printed another edition, and then just a few years after, I decided to give Reb Chaim the Derech Ish again, and Reb Chaim wrote me a goes. Yeah, a new Agoes. So the second printing was with new Agoes, and right now what I already right now printed in the last few months in Sefer called Kumi Oiri. So the Derech Ish that there is in Kumi Oiri is third printing, and it's with many Oisofes, and it's it's the full thing.
Okay, so we would just ask you last few questions. Is like this. Number one, This year also you published this massive chibur on Carbon Pesach. So I think you didn't there. You do not have ha'aros from Chaim Kanievsky. It just came in. How long were you working on this chibur on Carbon Pesach? It's 700 pages or something. I forgot the number already.
It's 600 pages, something like this. I work on this tenth of my life. If Yemesh Nosenu Beim Shivim Shono, so tenth of my life I spent for this sefer. It took me 7 full years to write the sefer on Korban Pesach. It's 10 prokim. It's something like 600 pages. And it's very, very fascinating sefer, Baruch Hashem. People enjoyed it and like it so much. All the edition that I printed, everything sold out. And
wow.
I want to tell you two things. People don't realize, I didn't realize that people will like so much the topic of Korban Pesach because, it's Kochim, it's hard. Not everyone learns Kochim. And even though, Baruch Hashem, the whole printing sold out. And the most nice thing that I had in last Pesach Sheni, that usually people knows what today we have in Pesach Sheni. There isn't any Korban Pesach today. There isn't main, Derech Ish. So what's the meaning of Pesach Sheni today? To eat matzah. That's the whole thing of Pesach Sheni. To eat matzah or not to eat matzah. That's the whole machlekes achronim. But this Pesach Sheni, people called me, dozens of people from all over the world, and ask me questions about Pesach Sheni. How, if the Mikdash Ibone right now, how can we do Pesach Sheni? We allowed to do, we're not allowed to do. According to Arocha, according to the Rambam, there's Machlekes Rishonim about it. So right now, Pesach Sheni became to be something, not just the matzeh, something mamish that you can learn in Pesach Sheni. Baruch Hu, Baruch Shmoi.
So one important thing you forgot about Pesach Sheni, you must be an Israeli. In America, we can skip Tachnon. You don't have to say Tachnon today. They didn't call you up to ask you about not saying Tachnon. Just to wrap it up. Anything else on the horizon before we close?
What is horizon?
Do you have any more? Any more seforim on the Derech that you're working on?
So right now, Baruch Hashem, I started writing on Rambam Ilches Deos. I'm already holding in Perek Beis Haloch Gimel. It took time. It sounds easy, but it's not easy at all. It took me a very long time. There is few mitzvahs esse that the Rambam put into this Ilches Deos, and Baruch Hashem, it's going slowly but surely. And I hope to finish it in a few years, Be'ezer Hashem. And I also have a plan to start working on the Rambam Ilches Avodas Yom Kippurim. This is one of the plans since I finished the Ilches Korban Pesach. I want to start Ilches Avodas Yom Kippurim. Meaning, will HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yeh Rotzon HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give us koiches to continue writing.
Koiches, and also anyone who's able to help sponsor any of these projects, any of these reprintings of you just mentioned, the Sefer on Carbon Pesach sold out, so I imagine needs funding to get reprinted. Okay. I'm sure it'd be more than, it's an unbelievable schos, the amount of people that got to use these seforim to reach out to help further with the materials. Oh, there's the L'Doif Ketchuva.
There's L'Doif Ketchuva, and you could see, if you open it up, you could see maybe in the editing, you could put real pictures. We see all those ha'aros on the side are all Reb Chaim Kanievsky's ha'aros. Every single page has some of these ha'aros, and it's really, really an incredible sefer. And Rabbi comes to America. You can reach out to him. Rabbi, you want to leave your email address? People can reach out to you directly. They can contact me, schwed@ou.org, Eliezer Brodt@gmail.com. If you want to buy any of this seforim. But Buri, before you close, if you have closing words, and leave your contact information.
So my contact information is urit44@gmail.com, and I mamish want to thank you for having me in this respectable bime to share my seforim. I have enough words to thank you, and may Hashem give you the koiches to continue. Meifitz Torah in Am Yisrael, Yagdil Torah v'Yadir.
Amen, amen.